First up is learning to unlearn. As we talk about implementation of AI and Gen AI, let's take a look now at a real-life use case. How a startup based in California, but with deep ties to D-Cubed, Algo Verde, collaborated with a global automaker, Nissan, to experiment with Gen AI in product innovation. We will hear from Vladimir Jacimovic, the founder and CEO of Algo Verde, and Robert Farmer, the Chief Market Intelligence Officer at Nissan. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rob Farmer. I am from Nissan, and this is Vladimir Jacimovic from Algo Verde. I'm here from the middle of America, Nashville. He's here from Silicon Valley. And we're here to talk about a new tool, Algo Verde, which Vladimir's firm started, on how you can use artificial intelligence to improve your market analysis. It's very much a use case in making things simpler, and it's a very easy way to adopt AI to get products to market sooner, maybe to save some cost, and also to get better and more thorough customer insights. So I want you to imagine this car as your business, and think about your business or your organization, and think about how you can make that better. Because in my industry, the car industry, we're in a pretty big disruption. I'm sure you've seen the headlines. In my career, I've never worked on tariffs. Suddenly I'm working on tariffs and the impact of tariffs. I've never really thought that much about government regulations. In the last couple of years, my life has been a lot about government regulations and using those items to make sure that the customer gets a good product. But it's complicated. It adds a little bit of chaos. Also, in the automotive industry, we're working really, really hard to reduce our cycle times. It takes some manufacturers, including Nissan, as much as 60 months to get a car from idea to the road. And if you think about what's required there, all the designers, all the product development, in my area, the market research, the marketers, the engineers, how you automate the factory, all of these things are very, very important to getting cars to market quickly, but it takes a long time. And again, this is a generally stable industry that employs millions of people. We generate millions of volume and millions of revenue, so it's a very, very important industry in a lot of countries. But we're under a lot of complexity and a lot of disruption. Obviously, electric vehicles are taking off everywhere. Hybrid vehicles are more and more important, and that's an important part of the future. But also, we've been disrupted by a certain gentleman you might have heard of, Elon Musk and Tesla. And Tesla has brought, you can say whatever you want about Tesla, but they have brought some really, really amazing electric vehicles to the market. Also, our friends in China have really, really mastered the art of bringing vehicles, very, very high quality vehicles to the market very, very quickly. So how does a company like Nissan react to all of this? Well, part of the answer, and just part of the answer, involves the work that I've done here with Vladimir. So we're going to turn it over to him next.
Thank you. So let's just stop everybody for a minute and just try to imagine you want to introduce a new vehicle on the market, and you want to reduce the time to do that. This is not a simple problem as some of the examples we have seen during the day. We take individual productivity and you try to just make an individual do their job better. In this particular case, you have to get hundreds and thousands of people to work in unison, so you would shorten that time. So today in automotive industry, it takes up to 18 months to come up with a concept for the vehicle. You have to decide who should buy it, what features should go in the vehicle, why would that matter? And the time to market is critical. The life is a lot harder because that vehicle is no longer just the four wheels and an engine and it takes you from place A to B. It has so many new features, and the features are constantly coming into the vehicle. So you have to stop 1 minute and say, how do I go about designing that vehicle and how do I reduce the time, which is long and the process is hard? And here comes what we have built. The vision for our product was, imagine for a minute that you have a crystal ball. Crystal ball is kind of poetic, right? You can have a crystal ball, which is really a Gen AI platform that allows you to figure out what your customers need, what do they want, how much are they willing to pay for it, design the vehicle that fits those features, and then test it virtually over and over with those customers without having to actually interact with those customers. That is the core idea that we have in this. So compare the two worlds. If you want to design a vehicle today, you have to talk to a lot of people, you have to have a lot of meetings. At the end of the day, you do need to produce that vehicle. We bring the GenAI platform to the bear to do all of that. And to do this, you have to have 3 superpowers. Now, I can proclaim to you that we help Nissan and we have done all of this wonderful work, but at the core of what we do, there are 3 superpowers. The very first superpower deals with knowing your customer. And every company likes to think that they really, really know their customer. But it is predicated on the interaction with a human. So now imagine for a minute that we can create a GenAI twin of your customers. High-fidelity GenAI twin that you can go and interrogate, ask, and learn what they want about that vehicle. There is a difference of working with humans versus with synthetic virtual personas. The humans get tired, they want to sleep. They don't want to give you hours and hours of their time. Often they don't even know what they really want. Now imagine this alternative world where we can create actually synthetic virtual personas, and we call them GenAI twins. So this is our superpower number 1. We've used it extensively in everything we do. So you can see how that will save time. You don't have to spend time, weeks and months, doing surveys, doing interviews, codifying your notes, and then figuring out how should this go into a vehicle design. But where does the majority of the time get spent or wasted, depending how you want to think about it? It is actually in those countless meetings that you have to go through in order to decide what should go in a vehicle. So think about it, any product development cycle. How many of you would just go from one meeting to another meeting, another email, another PowerPoint presentation, trying to align the management, learn the learnings from one part of the organization to the other? Now just imagine for a minute that you have a simulation environment. The simulation environment involves the GenAI twins that we have seen. You can bring into the point, and you can then do something relatively straightforward. You can go and ask them, what do you need? Why do you need it? How much would you pay for that? Come up with a concept, test that concept, and ask them, what do you think about this concept? And you can go further. So our whole mission in life was to reduce time to revenues. The first component of this is time to market. And what that means is we have to accelerate these interactions. You can see the headline on it. You cannot do this in a chatbot. No automaker, no big company will spend $2 billion and say the answer came from a chatbot. You need to be able to have a user interface to do that, and that's what we have done at Algo Verde. So you kind of probably stand there in the audience and say, this all sounds interesting. But how do you do this? What powers this? What is the engine that drives all of this? And what we have is a total solution here. We are on top of the stack. We build enterprise-grade GenAI applications. And what you see on the right-hand side of this page is the set of applications we have built. We call them solutions. We have them in product development. We have them in marketing. We have them in pricing. We have them in customer success. We even have cross-functional ones. We work in multiple verticals. CPG, we work with one of the largest CPG companies in the world. We work in high-tech. We work in finance. We obviously work in automotive. And that is what the customer sees. What the customer gets is a reusable application they can use over and over and over and over to run the simulations that save them a lot of time. That is a nice objective, but you need the left-hand side of the page to get that done. And the left-hand side page has the GenAI factory. So we have spent the morning and up to now listening about wonderful models that are coming out. Every week another model comes out. We insulate our customers from that. We worry about what models are the best fit for which task. And on top of that, our claim to fame is what we call the Algo Verde Studio. And the Algo Verde Studio is a development environment that allows you to effectively create workflows to interact with your GenAI twins using GenAI. So we can take the whole process and automate it in a matter of minutes and hours. So that is kind of on the highest possible level what Algo Verde is. But the most important thing is, what did we do with Nissan? So let me pass over to Rob, and he can tell you.
Okay, so we're going to get into the specific use cases here for what we did with Algo Verde. And again, we just started this process about 4 months ago, so it's still a relatively fast process. And we're going to walk you through some examples of how we have reduced our time for product development. Again, remember earlier I was talking about those 60 months. Well, I work in a part of the business that really focuses on 18 of those months, as Vladimir referred to. And again, we're working on a specific program that usually takes about 4 months. So think about 4 months as the time frame here. And we're going to show you how we took those 4 months and we worked on overall agility, first of all. That includes time to market, cost savings, and customer centricity. Next. And overall, what we're trying to do here is we're going to now present to you how we achieved these results. We're going to do sort of a top 5 list of the top 5 learnings that we did and how we developed this use case together with our partner at Algo Verde. And Vladimir is going to take the first of the 5. So please go ahead.
So the way we organized this is versus just presenting and presenting. What we wanted to do is to give you the top 5 learnings from the project we have just implemented. And let me start with the very first one. There is this misconception that deploying generative AI inside a company like Nissan, inside a large company, is like deploying software. After all, large language models are software. The difficulty with software is, by now, after about 40 years, the certainty of success is very high, and people are very familiar with it. What's the likelihood that your software project will fail? I don't know, 4 or 5% maybe, 10 in the worst case. Now think about organization rolling out generative AI. I don't know, is this going to work or not? And what we like to use as an analogy, it is a bit closer to pharmaceuticals. And the reason for that is because we are not certain whether the project will yield the results. So you're saying, this is rather interesting, Vladimir. You're here to present a case of how valuable this is, but the certainty is not there. It is important to understand why there is uncertainty. It's not whether we can deliver the application that will create the value for the customer. Can the organization embrace that and change? So we have done 2 projects at Nissan. One of them works splendidly. You're going to hear a lot about it. And the other one is much more behind and is purely driven by the parts of the organization that we were working with. So the moral of the story here is you do need a portfolio of projects if you want to start, because you don't know which part of your organization will react most favorably to what you have to propose. And this is one of the ways to get around the pilot purgatory, as many of you have experienced or heard about. You need to have enough bets on the table to be able to do. So we usually recommend between 2 and 4 things to start with, and we usually get at least 50% of them to engage, and the company embraces them, and then the whole wheel starts turning. Robert?
Okay, so the next one is the perception that we know our customers already. But the reality that we've learned is that AI also knows your customers, and it never gets tired, which is a really key advantage. So again, let me explain for you what we work on. We work on a lot of survey research. We conduct several surveys, and we define a target customer for every single program that we have. Now, as you can imagine, earlier when I talked about all of this disruption that's happening in our market, very often right now these programs change, and the specifications change. When we started this work, we thought this program was going to be an electric vehicle program. Well, what's happened in the US market in the last few months? Electric vehicle sales have declined, and hybrid vehicles have taken off. And we made the decision to change this program from an electric vehicle to a hybrid vehicle. And I thought I was going to have to call Vladimir and say, oh no, this big important trial that we're working on together to reduce time and improve customers, it's off. We're going to have to start over. Because again, my mental framework was a survey, right? You have to do a survey, you have to engage a vendor, you have to get customers, you have to do the field work. It's this long, intensive, very human process. And I thought when we switched from the one to the other, all of that work was going to have to be thrown out. And actually, my team came to me very quickly, in less than 24 hours, and they said, we don't have to throw it out. This platform transfers. It transfers from the one to the other. And it's very, very flexible, and it's very, very adaptable. The AI doesn't care what segment you're in. A survey that was only conducted with this group of people absolutely does. But the AI is more encompassing and has everything. And this, for me, was a huge, huge, huge surprise. And then, of course, the AI never gets tired, so then we very quickly processed all the findings that we needed on a hybrid study. It was a really, really great, maybe the greatest transformation I've seen on an individual program in my career. Next. Also, there's an organizational model aspect here, which, if you think about it, I thought that the AI would just augment a certain process. We'd use a little AI here to save it. We'd use a little AI over here to reduce some time. But actually, what we learned was it actually transformed the whole existing process. So let me give you an example. We conduct, again, very market research example, we have consumers fill out diaries, okay? And these diaries say, I drove here, and I drove this much time, and I drove this distance with the children in the car, kind of a thing. And then we process all that information and understand how to make cars better based on how people are using their cars. It's a kind of intensive process, as you can imagine. One, consumers have to fill out the diaries. Two, somebody on my staff has to read through it. Three, then we have to summarize all that information and be able to explain it to an engineer or a designer. But what was interesting about that is we very quickly came to the conclusion we don't need the diary anymore. The AI has all of the information on how these consumers use their vehicles. We don't actually have to go through that diary process. So what we thought would be a little sprinkling of AI in lots of different places actually made us realize, no, it transformed the entire existing process, which again was a very, very interesting learning that I did not expect. Next. Here I thought that this AI adoption in market research would just be an addition to all the tools and all the tricks that I've developed over my career. But actually what I learned was no, you have to learn to unlearn. Everything is different in the AI world. And the things that made me the expert, per the earlier conversation, the things that made me the expert at this point, actually they're not working anymore. I have to dial back some of those things I've learned, adopt AI, and become a new market researcher. And that was a new, absolutely new learning for me. And let me explain with an example here to make this very, very clear. We conducted in this study, we conducted survey research, and in parallel, we conducted the AI Algo Verde generative platform. So we had this very nice sort of A to B version of results from a very traditional market research program to this AI generative model. And again, I'll give you another example. Dogs, puppies. Americans have gone crazy with their love of dogs in the last few years. And we know from the survey that over 70% of the people who own our Armada vehicle, here it's called petrol, have a dog. It's a really, really high number. In the AI, we didn't necessarily have the 70% number, but we had all of this information about dogs and how people use their dogs and the kind of dogs that they have and how they transfer their dog from one location to another in their car. It's a very American thing, I know. So my point is, I had to go from being this person who explained with great scientific accuracy how many people had a dog to being able to explain to my leadership, this is how they have the dog, this is how they use the dog, this is what you need to know about making a car that's good for the dog. And again, that was a very, very different way of approaching my work. And again, I had to unlearn what I previously knew to adopt this new understanding of my customer. Vladimir, please.
So, and then to the last learning lesson, it is the impact. So in this particular case, you've heard it takes about 18 months to come up with a concept for the vehicle. The front end of the process, market intelligence, is about 4 to 6 months using traditional methods. Suffices to say, using our platform, using Algo Verde, this was done in a matter of weeks. So that is a massive acceleration. But I would like to leave you with the following piece. There's a tremendous, what you will always hear is that AI delivers cost savings. Obviously, if you can reduce the time, the cost savings will be obvious. There's this other side of this that can also generate revenues, and this is the way to think about it. Jeff Bezos had to give a speech, I believe, only last week. And he said, I'm back at Amazon, I'm working, and I have to work because there's this new horizontal capability called generative AI, and it will affect everything we do. It received a lot of pieces. And the analogy was to electricity. So now, if you are in 1880 in a factory and electricity is being brought to that factory, you have the following option. You can say, I shall keep everything in place. The only thing which I'm going to change is the steam boiler in the back, and I'll put the new electric motor to replace the steam boiler, and everybody will keep doing exactly what they have done before, just cheaper, faster. Or you can be bold, and you can say, I will actually redesign the factory. What we are doing with Nissan is just as the Chinese proverb goes, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. But imagine a single step where you take something that would be extremely linear, takes 4 to 6 months, condense it a period of time, and then when they want to change the direction and go, I don't want to do EVs, I want to do hybrids, that is a matter of an afternoon and you can make a transition. This is the first installment of the Nissan Algo Verde story. Thank you.